Welcome to the gift wrap booth training. Supervisors will pick up the key and return it from the security office in the P1 area below the atrium court. Ask for the B&H binder. There are 2 binders, so be specific. Sign the key out in the morning at the beginning of your shift, and the last shift of the day will need to sign it back in with name, date, and shift time. When you arrive at the booth, set up the ropes in the direction that we would like the customers to line up. The supervisor unlocks the cabinets, and the volunteers and supervisors put away their jackets and bag. Please note there is very little space. Then unlock the rest of the cabinets. Ensure that everyone has an apron, green for supervisors and blue for volunteers. The supervisor should now go to the bottom drawer and locate the petty cash box. The supervisor will then count the float to ensure that there is $100 in the petty cash box. Please keep the box in the bottom drawers at all times. At this time, the volunteer wrappers can now go to the binder and sign into their individual timesheets. Supervisors can put some small change in their pocket for quick access when receiving donations. Set up the corner displays with the sample boxes and the signage on each corner. When the customers arrive with their gifts, the supervisor only writes 1 ticket per gift. Each ticket must have the first name and last initial and phone number of the customer, as well as the number associated with the wrapping paper of their choice 1 through 6 that they have selected from the display board. With only 6 options to choose from, the gifts will start to look alike once they're wrapped. So it is very important that we keep the tag that's associated with that gift with the gift at all times, from the beginning when we receive the gift right up till the end when the supervisor hands it back to the customer. We must match those tickets back to the customer's ticket. The portion of the ticket that has the written information on it gets taped to the gift that stays to be wrapped, and the serial number that matches that ticket then gets passed to the customer. They must show that ticket to us when they come back to pick up the gift to ensure that we have their correct gifts. When the customer returns to pick up their gifts, ensure that each incoming ticket number matches the ticket being returned through the supervisor only. Please do not rely on names, as people have the same name. The phone number is also a good way to double check. If there is 2 Matts, for example, please check each and every gift with the correlating number. We ask that the donation be made when the customer drops off the gift to be wrapped. However, on rare occasion, when they don't have cash, we write on it, "Not paid." This ensures that the supervisor returning the gift to the customer knows to request the donation at pickup. Check for price tags and cut only with permission, or black out the amount on the tag with a Sharpie. Do your best to fold the clothes nicely. We often run out of boxes, and so there will not necessarily be a box to wrap each gift in. The supervisors may be required to cash out at the end of their shift, and definitely at the end of the shift if it's the last of the night. Please start by grabbing the deposit book and filling in the details of membership number, date, and etc. You can look at the previous page to gather that information and fill it in accordingly. Please don't count the float on the countertop. Crouch down to the drawer and count the money there. Later on, we will have a table in the center of the booth and it can be counted in that location. The supervisor leaving the shift will do their deposit, while the new supervisor takes over the responsibilities of the booth. Remove the $100 float, which needs to be left in the cash box after you make the deposit. Please keep as many small bills as possible, 5 tens, 20s, and loonies, for the next shift supervisor. Now count only the amount that you're going to be depositing. As you count, write those amounts into the deposit log. The last shift of the night will need to use a deposit bag in order to do their deposits. Find the deposit bags and put the membership number and information that's required on the outside of that bag at this time. If you're depositing during the day, you will need to go to Coast Capital and stand in line and hand over the deposit sheet and the money to a teller. The last shift of the night will have to go to the bank machine to do a night deposit. Insert the bank card and enter the PIN number. Select Business Account. Select the checking account. Enter the amount that you have written on the outside of the deposit bag. It will then ask you to confirm that you are ready to make your deposit. It will open the door. The door will drop down. It is very heavy, so be careful when you open it. Place the bag inside and close the door again. It will then lock. Close the door and follow the instructions on the screen. It will give you the bank receipt. Remove the bank card and return it to the cash box. Take the receipt that you just received and go to the deposit book. Staple it to today's date. Now back to the booth. It's very important, and it will save you time if you measure out the size of each gift before you actually rip the paper from the roll. When it is busy, you may have to ask somebody else to do it on the other side because of the amount of people and parcels inside the booth. With each gift, do the best you can, but remember, people have donated for their gift to be beautifully wrapped. Gifts will actually be quicker to wrap if you follow the procedures that we taught you during the training. Measure and cut the excess. It will save you time. Measure and cut. Check the length. Cut the size of the paper to the box. Tape using minimal amount of tape. You don't need a lot. When someone asks us to wrap an expensive gift, we oftentimes will ask them to stay and wait for their gift to be wrapped. So it may jump the queue in those instances. We ask that after you wrap each gift that you do a quick cleanup of the surfaces around you and throw any extra unusable wrapping paper or ribbons that you are not using away or place it back where it should be. It's a small space with a lot of people and a lot of gifts. Sometimes you'll receive gifts that have odd shapes or sizes. Just do the best you can in those situations. You may also need to ask someone else to help you if it's a larger gift. You may need to be creative and use multiple pieces of paper in order to cover the entire surface of the gift. You may also need to reinforce the corners on some sharp boxes. Ensure that every gift has a ribbon or two that match or are complementary to the wrapping style. The ribbon is also important so that once the gift is wrapped, we can tape the corresponding ticket onto the ribbon where it is the most secure to be placed. Please don't place the ticket back onto the bows. The bows often get knocked off the parcels. If the ticket is attached to the paper, it will often rip the paper when it is removed. Please attach the ticket to the ribbon. It will stay there and be the most secure. When the supervisor returns the gift to the customer, they can easily remove the ticket from the ribbon or cut it off at the tape portion if necessary. In the last weeks of the fundraiser, you will notice a small folding table has been placed inside the booth to help us keep track of incoming gifts. The supervisor will take the gifts once it has been processed and place it on the table. Then it can slide down to the end so that the wrappers know which end to take it from, based on the order of when they arrived. Gift wrappers are responsible to keep their gifts with them at all times, even when they're grabbing paper from another area. We don't want to have any of the gifts that we're responsible for stolen while we have them. Remember that only supervisors should be accepting and giving out gifts. If a customer asks for their gift, redirect them to the supervisor. The booth can get quite chaotic at times, but just do your best to keep things tidy and organized. Sometimes large gifts are not able to fit in the alphabetical order locations where they belong, so we keep it near the area that it should be. Supervisors may ask the wrappers to go and get more supplies from the storage room. We will leave instructions on how to get there. Metropolis staff will often come by and check on our booth to make sure that it is neat, tidy, and clean, so please make sure that you don't put tape onto the counters. If you find some, please help clean it. No food is allowed in the booth. You can bring a water bottle that completely seals. We don't want to have any spills. Please eat before and after your shift. If you need to use the washroom, please let your supervisor know. Also, if you need to make a phone call, please step away from the booth. All money raised goes to support important programs at the neighborhood house. Thank you so much for volunteering your time. We hope this is a really enjoyable experience for you and those you volunteer with.